Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick.
I'm Ian.
Today we're talking about the revelation that came out last year that 50% of all new records are bought by people that don't have turntables. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that we put together a week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you see a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we release new episodes. So early last year, there was an article I found online. It was by Music Business World that the title of it is 50% of vinyl buyers in the U.S. don't own a record player, data shows. So this is all from Luminate, who does a lot of statistical analysis for the music industry, found that 50% of the people that bought records in the 12 months before didn't own a turntable. Mm-hmm. And there was a whole big discussion online about this. I know there's a couple other bigger YouTube channels that had discussions about this also. And a lot of people came down on the side of, this is all like young kids. They're buying records with no intention of listening to them. People are buying records for the art and not listening to them. It was kind of a lot of those conversations around it. And I had a different kind of perspective to it. And I kind of waited a while to talk about it because I kind of wanted to let some of the dust settle on those conversations before I talked about it. And that is when I got back into buying records, I guess several years ago now, quite a few years ago now. But when I first started my record collection, I was buying records and didn't own a turntable. I mean, I intended to buy a turntable, but I probably had a small collection. I probably had, 20 to 30 albums before I got around to buying a turntable. So I think this is one of those cases where you can look at statistics and you can kind of take whatever you want from them, but they might not necessarily mean what you think they mean.
Well, yeah, statistics can't pinpoint
Intent,
people's way
like
of
that.
Thinking, intentions, and all that.
Yeah.
And I guess, they probably asked in these polls, are you going to get a turntable? I don't know, but I'm kind of on both sides of the issue because I get that, it could be because of the art and everything, and it even says that
I'm sure there is a percentage
talked
of
about
people that do that.
I put them on my wall and stuff like that. And when it comes to that, I get it, but I also think then it's all just surface. It's packaging. People want the package; they don't want the substance.
Yeah,
that bothers me. But you do what you want to do, and if it's all going to the same place. It doesn't really matter. It's like people who, burn records and stuff in protests. You paid for the record. Who cares what it does? But I think there's maybe an underlying problem there of the substance not being an issue, and that's kind of bothersome because that's how you get people who don't care. It doesn't matter what the music sounds like. Let's make a pretty package and people will buy it, and that's problematic. But again, it's, as I said, the money's going to the same place.
Yeah.
What difference does it make? What people's intentions of buying stuff are? People buy books all the time and never read them.
Yeah.
Which I've done. I have books that I bought and never read. So you can't really look at it from that perspective. I think the reason this article is even a thing, why this article can be written, is because this resurgence of vinyl is so new.
Yeah.
It's not new. It's 10 years old, but it's
longer.
New.
That's almost 20 years old now.
Yeah, but it's new enough, and it's because it's progressively gotten more popular. People want to talk about it, and these are the types of things they look at.
Yeah.
Overall, I don't know if it really matters much in the grand scheme.
Because I think you bring up a great point. People buy records because they want to listen to them. I buy records because I don't own a record that I've never opened and listened to. But there are people that buy records for a collection. People do buy records for the artwork. I know I've got good friends that buy records and hang them on the wall and don't listen to them, even though they do own a turntable. But people buy things for different reasons. And I think just as long as we're buying the music to support the artist, that's the important thing. Right. But kind of going back to my original point, when you see that only 50% of people are buying records that have turntables, you might automatically think, these are kids and they don't know what they're doing, or a lot of times it seems like people have this, they think there's something nefarious going on. And I think that a lot of times these are people that there are a percentage of people that will never buy a turntable. There are probably a large percentage of that 50% that will eventually buy a turntable. Like I said earlier, when I first started buying records, I could have bought a cheap turntable to listen to them on. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have a nicer turntable, a nicer setup. So I waited and saved up some money and bought what I wanted. And so I think it's kind of easy to look at that 50% and think that there's some negative aspects about it, and there doesn't necessarily have to be. Right. And unfortunately, this kind of brings up a lot of the negative aspects of the vinyl community also, that a lot of us tend to be negative towards younger collectors. And that necessarily isn't really the case, I think, with this, because it doesn't necessarily mean that there's only younger people buying records that don't have record players. Because like I said before, I was in that category. You were in that category at one time also.
Briefly, but I only had, aside from the records that I had from when I was a kid, I think I only bought like 2 or 3 albums before I got a turntable. Yeah, I mean, it was a used turntable, but it was a stereo setup.
Yeah.
That I bought from a friend. But yeah, it was only a few, because I didn't have a lot of money anyway. Yeah. So it's not like I could have bought a lot of records just for. I couldn't justify spending the money without having a reason to spend it.
Exactly.
But I think the problem is that as far as the community goes, like any community out there, there's a lot of people out there who think that there's only one way to do something, and it's their way.
Yeah.
And that's just not true. How I consume music is different from how Nick consumes music. I mean, it may be closer, but generally speaking, it's slightly different.
And I got better musical taste, but
debatable. But anyway, but how we consume music is going to be different from how even any of our viewers may consume music.
Yeah.
And some people don't consume music at all. I'm surprised how many people just in random conversation, what you listening to these days, or what kind of music you like. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's like they have no care in the world about it. It's like it could just be in the background. It could be gone, and they wouldn't even notice.
I think that is a bigger conversation about. I think streaming is why that's.
Well, it could be, but I mean, just in general, how people consume is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I was gonna say though, I think that like streaming has made everything almost kind of forgettable and like a byproduct, and it doesn't have the same meaning that music had before, I don't think. But I think it kind of goes to a bigger conversation. Right. But yeah, there's always going to be those like negative aspects in any community, in any community, whether it's the comic book community or whatever. And I think over the last year, I've seen a lot of that kind of come up repeatedly, where it's almost like an attack on people that don't own a turntable and they're buying records. And like I said, I think there's multiple reasons outside of what they think is going on that could be going on.
Right. Like I said, my only concern would be that, style over substance it's a dangerous thing, because it's pervasive in everything, and especially in this country.
Yeah.
But, there's every era gets to the point where something that was pure and artistic gets, homogenized down to just literally style, and then
it becomes more of a commodity than an art,
right?
Yeah, and I can see that. I can see what you're saying, where you can kind of throw out whatever as long as it has a nice packaging. People are going to
buy it, and it doesn't matter what the music is.
Says, yeah.
I mean, we've seen it in every genre of music too.
I guess I should also add that these statistics from Luminate were taken from a study of about 3,900 people in the U.S., so it was a pretty small sample size. So I think if you did a larger survey across the U.S. or across the globe of tens of thousands of people, I think you might have a different statistic kind of pop up.
Well, you also have to look at, just in the United States, you have different, where were these polls taken, what groups, different economic constraints could play a part in that too. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot that kind of goes into a statistic that maybe not. If you're looking at just the statistic and the number and kind of what it says about it, it could be misleading. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop us a comment down below. Let us know what you guys think about this. Like I said, these are all statistics, and this is a big conversation that's been going on for almost a year now. Since this article came out, and I'd love to know what you guys think about it. What side do you kind of fall on? Do you kind of see this as maybe an issue in the vinyl community where, people are buying records and not listening to them? Or you kind of fall on the side of me where it's like it could mean something else? But let us know what you guys think. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you steal a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all we got. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Keep on spinning. Peace.